Hello and welcome to Lords for this bumper day of T20 action, the Inter-Service Championships, live from the home of cricket. Well, it's been a rather damp start to the day here in St John's Wood in London. We unfortunately had to wave goodbye to the first of the three matches on the schedule this morning, the UCAF women going head-to-head with MCC. But I'm pleased to say the ground staff have done a fantastic job at getting things ready to go, and the umpires are satisfied we can finally get things underway. The RAF are hosting today. They've been in pretty good form leading into the tournament this year. They go up against the British Army first before a clash with the Royal Navy later. The British Army, who've held the title since 2019, had a somewhat surprise result on Tuesday, going down to the Royal Navy, and Kath Brazier was there.
The Royal Navy won the toss and decided to bat, backing themselves early on to make a solid score. And that they did, in no small part thanks to their captain Ben Johnston's 67. The skipper was eventually bowled by this corker from Denzel James. What followed was a reversal by the umpires, who initially called a no ball but then quickly reversed their decision, and Johnston had to go. But he was ably assisted by some fine hitting from his side, opener Sam Hewitt making 24 and Brendan Streether a handy 19. The senior service batted out the full 20 overs for 154 runs with a loss of 6 wickets. And the Army's initial reply was a swashbuckling 20 off their first over. That man James again in the mix. He went on to top score for the Army with 57. But the Royal Navy peppered the men in red with regular wickets. The Army captain Ross Dearden, the only other batter to make more than single figures. It was smart bowling and superb work in the field from the Dark Blues, and they really restricted the Army's scoring. So much so, they could only manage 108 before being bowled out. 3 wickets each for Charlie Rutter and Nathan Hill contributed to a win for the Royal Navy by 46 runs, recording their first Inter-Services T20 victory over the Army since 2010, a year they went on to win the title. So it's on to the home of cricket, where the Royal Air Force await both teams.
The British Army have won the toss and have elected to field, so the RAF batsmen are in the middle, and without further ado, we'll hand over to our commentary team.
On the boundary on the offside, just the 3 on the leg side from what I can see. The umpire is just checking that everybody's ready to go, and we're now live with British Forces Broadcasting Service. You can view those pictures on their YouTube channel and listen to us at the same time. We'd also love to hear from you by email, ballbyball@mcc.org.uk. It's nice to see so many people here turned up, and a lot of support. The Warner stand, the lower part of the Warner stand is almost full. Lots of people in the grandstand to our right, and some in the tavern stand as well. A lot of people in boxes as well, Nick, on the grandstand
a few
side.
people are sure they've had a good lunch.
The first ball of the innings has been bowled, and that's on a good length, but it's picked up nicely and pulled towards mid-wicket, where it's fielded after a slight fumble, but there is no run. Burden was on a good length straight away there for his first ball, and he now makes his way back to his mark. He's got quite a longish run up, and off he goes again now. This next ball is on a fuller leg that's driven through extra cover, and I think that's going to make it to the boundary for 4. That's 4 runs despite the wet outfield. That was a very, very well-timed shot.
It was. I'm afraid just over pitching there, Burden. It was a half volley, and Shorthouse needed no invitation for that. He was on it, quick as a flash, and picked the gap. And a very, very assured-looking shot, and always a nice way to get an early boundary in the innings.
And this next ball is played down the leg side, and the umpire signals wide. The pitch that is being used today is the second closest to the grandstand, so sort of half a dozen pitches along from the main pitch, which is used for the test matches. So our view here is sort of mid-off, if you like, to the right-handed batsman. We're not directly behind the bowler's arm, but that one was drifting down the side. Let's see how he does with this next one, which is a better line and a better length, and it's played defensively out on the offside by Shorthouse. He has that look of a confident batsman about him, doesn't he?
He does. Yeah, he does. And a batsman who's in form and knows the.
So a fielder on the cover boundary, extra cover boundary. In comes Burden for the 4th ball of his over, and again it's a full pitch delivery, slightly over pitched, driven out on the offside, right to the fielder at cover, and so there's no run.
Yeah, don't think he quite timed that, but he might feel he just missed out a bit in the end. Didn't quite time and picked out the fielder, but there were probably runs. It was another slightly over pitched delivery from Burden.
Yeah, he probably wishes he could have done better with that one, because it was over pitched. As he faces this next ball coming in now, and that's slashed outside off stump. The fielder at mid-off put his arms up thinking there had been some contact, but there clearly hadn't. No appeal by the wicketkeeper. But it was a slightly reckless shot, that. Not which you can probably hear on our FX microphone.
Slip in. It's a fairly defensive start to this innings. I'm surprised they wouldn't actually have a slip in just early doors.
And is it hit on the pad with the next delivery? Umpire is not interested. A big appeal to the bowler and allowed by the fielding team, but the umpire showing no interest at all, and that is the end of the over. 5 up on the board already. No loss.
Yeah, I think that one just drifting down leg, but overall I think Burden can be reasonably happy with his first over. Just the 5 coming off it, which was the boundary and the wide. It'll be interesting to see how the RAF go about this innings. Clearly for the Army, in electing to field, they're feeling confident in their ability to chase down the score, but as we as a commentary team have observed, it is actually easier to post runs typically when these people are playing at Lord's. Some have played here before, but nonetheless. But the Army statement of intent by
the square where he was standing was covered, so hopefully it should be fairly dry, but anyway, he slipped in trying to field that, and the score has moved on to 7. Diver is going to face this next one. She drives straight back to the bowler, who fields of his own bowling, and there is no run. So the field for the bowler coming in from the pavilion end, we have a short mid-on. This next ball is driven out onto the offside, and a quick pick up and throw from the fielder running in from the cover boundary there, and they take a quick single.
Yeah, just a sniff of a run out there, but Shorthouse was running quickly, so in the end no danger. Plus, actually the throw was just slightly wayward. I wonder if it had been over the top of the stumps, whether Shorthouse might have been in danger.
And that is, of course, a short boundary here today. Next ball is flicked down on the leg side, and that's going to go for 4 runs. Yeah, that just crosses the ropes now. Schofield drifting down the leg side, and the batter just helping the ball on its way.
Yes, it was. I wonder, Burden might have it was Burden who's fielding there at short fine leg, and he dived and missed it. But I wonder whether he feels he might have done slightly better, and if so, he would have saved 3 runs.
Yes, and he's of course the opening bowler at the other end, so he's probably had that in his mind as well. Next ball is just driven out into the covers. Again, they run through for a quick single. There's a much better throw on this occasion coming in, and nicely backed up by the fielder.
Yes, it's Les Paul who was the fielder there. He was sharply on it. Similar thing. I think if it had hit the stumps, I think Diver probably would have been home.
I think he would have been, but on the previous ball, I think you were right. I think he would have. There would have been a decision to make.
But good, aggressive running anyway from the RAF. 13 for no loss.
Yes, so that's the end of the second over. 13 without loss. I'm sure they'll be happy with that. And it's going to be Shorthouse on strike again. He is the danger man now, and he pulls this one above the mid-wicket area, and that's 4 runs. The fielder there made an effort to jump as high as he could, but it was above him.
Yeah, it wasn't totally convincing, that from Shorthouse, but he got enough on it that it went over the fielder's head and really trickled over the boundary.
I mean, from this end, if anybody's going to drift down leg side, that is the obvious shot there because of that short boundary. Next ball is cut out onto the offside, straight to the fielder at cover point, and there's no run.
Yes, it's Kolk who's the fielder there, very athletic. Bit of fielding, the ball bounced on him. But it was almost
yes,
like
he picked it up quickly, didn't
yeah.
he? So Burton, this is in his second over from the nursery end, running away from us towards the pavilion. And he comes now. Lots of support from the and this is straight driven to mid-off, and they take a single. And that ball went straight to the fielder, and yet the running was so confident they set off immediately. No fear at all. Good running between the wickets, 18 without loss. So Diver is going to be facing, I think for the first time at the pavilion end. He's just taking his guard from the umpire, having a good look around. 3 on the leg side. No slip. In comes the bowler now, and that's a full-length delivery, which is played late and glanced down to the third area, fielded nicely, and they take a single. I think, as well as the boundaries, it is so important in this format of the game to make sure that there are as few dot balls as possible. Singles need to be picked up wherever possible. Burden it is, and his next ball is a wild slash outside off stump. Wicketkeeper takes the ball, and there's no run.
Yeah, that was expansive, wasn't it? Should we say, from Shorthouse. Not a huge amount of interest from the fielders, so I suspect there was a decent gap between bat and ball.
Nobody appealed
on
at all.
that, but yeah, if he'd connected, you sort of felt that could have ended up landing into the commentary box with us.
Last ball of the over for Burden, and that's played high over extra cover, and that's 4 runs to Shorthouse. It clearly means business, and that wasn't a particularly good ball actually. It was there to be hit. He just took one step forward and just lifted it over extra cover.
Yeah. It's a very controlled shot though.
Yeah.
You know, whereas the one before was a ambitious waft. This one was more of a just chipping it rather elegantly over.
So that's the end of the third over. 23 without loss, the RAF, with Shorthouse on 19 and Diver 2 not out, and it's going to be Diver who's going to be facing.
Yes, I'm just looking at this. I mean, Diver's only faced 4 deliveries versus Shorthouse's 14.
And this next ball is played out into the covers, straight to the fielder. No run. So there's 5 patrolling that offside, 2 inside, well, 3 inside the circle. Next ball is played straight back to the bowler by Diver.
Yeah, I think the Army would quite like to keep Diver on strike actually. I mean, knowing what a formidable batsman Shorthouse is, the more of the strike he sees, the more dangerous that is for the Army.
And there is an element of senior partner, junior partner that we can see already in this batting partnership. Again, the next ball is a good ball on the off-stump line. It's played out into the covers, and he's struggling to score, Diver. Dot balls is not the name of the game in T20 cricket. Schofield it is, coming in from the pavilion end, and this ball is played out onto the onside, and the bowler diving to his right manages to get a hand on it, so stops it from going much further, and they don't take a single.
Yeah, a bit of pressure building on Diver now. It's 4 dot balls in this over so far.
And he slashes that ball into the covers. Well fielded by the fielder coming in from the extra cover boundary. Again, no run. Yeah,
well, Diver had his head in his hands there because that bounced just in front of the fielder. Otherwise, that would have been a fairly simple catch.
Last ball of the over coming up now, and this ball is lifted over, I think that could be 6 actually. Yeah, 6 runs. The umpire signals 6 runs off the longest boundary, long on. It would be long on for the batter from this end, the nursery end, so that's a very, very well hit 6 runs for Diver.
It was a fantastic shot. He just literally stand and deliver, picked it up, and absolutely got hold of it. And having done 5 dot balls, he then turned that into a respectable over.
And I think that had a lot to do with it, really. I think he premeditated that whatever happens, he's going to hit that. And he hit that, he did.
Get 6 or get out. Yeah.
Burden is going to continue, or is there going to be a change?
Change of bowling.
Yeah, it looks like there's a change of bowling from this end, the nursery end. We don't know who that is yet. We haven't seen any introduction of slow bowling as yet, and in this format sometimes, surprisingly, they actually bring on the spinners fairly early on. Let's see what James it is. And that first ball is given a wide by the umpire. It didn't look particularly wide from here, but it was given as a wide.
Yeah, it wasn't a huge amount of generosity there from the umpire, was there? He's set out his marker, what he's prepared to tolerate.
So we're in the 5th over, 30 without loss, and Shorthouse is on strike, and he drives this into the covers. There's 2 fielders there converging on the ball, and he doesn't get a run.
Yeah, it was a super stop that actually from Dearden, because if he got a hand on it, and if it hadn't, that was going for 4. That was well hit by Shorthouse.
So James is a medium pace bowler, Wicketkeeper is standing almost as far back as he was for the opening bowler. Right arm over the wicket. That ball is played out into the covers. No run. It's a good length that he's bowling already. Only in his first over.
Yeah, he's doing well.
Four fielders on the offside as he comes in. That's a full toss, which is pulled through mid-wicket, and a sliding, well, an attempted sliding stop by the fielder there. Him missed it, unfortunately.
Yeah, slightly ungainly bit of fielding from Fletcher there, but in the end he managed to swipe the misfield, kept it down to one.
I expect that it is probably damp where he fell there. 31 without loss, the RAF, and this next ball is played out beautifully through the covers. He's not going to make that. The fielder running in, he crashes into the photographer on the boundary ropes. Holds out his hands to apologise, but he ran the best part of 20 metres there, 25 metres, but he couldn't stop it.
Yeah,
Perfectly timed square cut there.
It was well placed by Diver, that. Just squeezing it into that vacant third area. Picks up 4.
So Diver has now scored 12 off 11 deliveries, and Shorthouse 20 off 17. It's a fuller ball, this next one from James, which is hit into the air. Not the best timed of shots. The fielder running in from the long off boundary field, and they take a single.
Well, it's interesting because they moved that fielder out. If he'd stayed put, he would have had a very simple catch there. It was the fielder in the end coming in, Benson coming in from deep mid-off.
Another full toss, which is played to the mid-wicket area, and an overthrow coming in from the fielder from there. And in all the confusion, I think they run 2 runs, when really there was no need for that at all.
It wasn't great. It was a poor throw. I think Diver was probably home anyway, and then the backing up just wasn't quite what it needed to be.
So that brings us to the end of the 5th over. The score is 38 without loss. Shorthouse is on 22. Diver, who will be on strike now, is 13 not out. I'm going to make way for Will Hobbs to join Nick Headley.
Yes, we've got Schofield will be continuing from the pavilion end, and he will be bowling to Diver, 13 not out. And Diver's over his back now as Schofield comes in, and it's pushed firmly up to, well, it's a misfield, pushed firmly up to mid-off, and Les Puris just missed the ball, went straight through him. So that's 4 more to Diver. Score 42 for no loss. And, well, just some worrying signs actually for the Army here. The fielding slightly awry, and as a result, the RAF making hay. Schofield comes in, and this is pushed firmly back up the field by Diver and fielded by Schofield off his own bowling. So a dot ball, 42 for no loss. Welcome, Will.
Thanks, Nick. I'd have to say, you could say the RAF are off to a flyer here at Lord's.
You could do, and I think I'd agree with you. As this delivery is just turned into the leg side, and they're going to go and run through for a quick single as Burden comes in from short fine leg to do the fielding. So 1 more, it's a leg by that signalled by the umpire. So Diver is on 17. That brings Shorthouse, who's on 22. Shorthouse, who's over his bat now as Schofield comes in and bowls, and that's just turned to the leg side. They're going to go for it quickly. They will have to hurry, but well, it's a good bit of fielding. But Diver, who's quite portly, but gets through, does manage to run reasonably speedily between the wickets, so he was safely home, so the score moves 44 for no loss. And the running between the wickets of the RAF is good as Schofield comes in, and this is pushed firmly up to mid-off, and this time Les Paris does the fielding appropriately, dot ball. I mean, the wicket looks as though it's playing in a pretty straightforward manner. This one's from Schofield's turned into the leg side by Diver, so one more will go on to fielding. To the score as Hawksworth comes in off the boundary to do the fielding. So that's the end of the 6th over, with the RAF making very strong progress. 45 for no loss. Enjoying what you're seeing so far, Will?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as an MCC commentary team, we do a few games. We do Eton Harrow varsity match, MCC games. What strikes you about the Forces games, the strength of which every shot is played, even if it's a defensive stroke, the ball just cannons everywhere. The fielding is really athletic. A couple of slips from the Army so far in the field, which they'll be disappointed at. They set the standard in this fixture, the Army in the field. It wouldn't surprise you, they're used to being in the field. But yeah, just the speed at which the game is played and the brutality of stroke making, particularly in T20, and Shorthouse and Diver have been experts at that so far. High voltage cricket between the two armed forces here as they do battle at the home of cricket.
So it's James now coming in to start his 2nd over. He bowls, and this is just guided by Diver into the 3rd area, and they'll pick up an easy single as the throw comes in from Schofield. So one more to the total, 46 for no loss. I think it's fair to say the RAF batsmen have looked very untroubled so far, and it brings Shorthouse onto strike. There's James off 6 or 7 paces, and this is splashed aerially just over the top of the fielder there at cover, and it's fielded by Ringrose out on the boundary away to our left. Just the single in it, 47 for no loss. As James is in once again, bowling to Diver, and this one is, well, it's pulled aerially down to deep long on, one bounce, and Fletcher does the fielding, so one more to the total. Diver didn't quite, he's just practicing the shot, didn't quite get it where he wanted. We really wanted to plant that into the grandstand. Just got it slightly high up on the bat. 48 for no loss. There's James bowls, and there's a flash and an appeal for caught behind, and he's been given. Shorthouse goes for 24 of 20 deliveries. He stepped back, tried to make a little bit of place for himself for the cut, and got an outside edge. All the 11 Army players went up. Umpire was a little bit slow, I thought, with his raising his finger. So I wonder whether his mind, he was just a tiny bit of doubt. But Shorthouse goes slightly disgruntled, and that actually is a big wicket, very big wicket for the Army. I mean, he is the star batsman for the RAF, and the Army needed that, Will.
Yeah, absolutely. It was evident from just that brief spell at the crease that Shorthouse was dangerous. 24 he has to depart for. Denzel James, Royal Artillery, 47th Regiment. He's listed as a batsman, according to our information, number 71, from St Lucia, but he's got the key breakthrough here, bowling first change from the nursery end. Outside the off-stump, a waft from Shorthouse, who has not looked like leaving any of the balls he's faced so far, just thrown the kitchen sink and everything, and a lot of the time it's come off. But a little snick through to the wicket-keeper, and a big breakthrough for the Army after sustaining a great deal of RAF pressure. 48 for 1 it is now.
So the new batsman in is Fisher, and he is ready now, awaiting his first delivery. This one's a foolish delivery, and a appeal for caught behind, and he's given 2 in 2. James just got that one just to shape away from Fisher, who came forward slightly tentatively. It took the outside edge, and a very good catch from Preston, diving to his right. And the Army are right back in this, 48 for 2.
Stunning bowling. Denzel James, you look up at the skies and you see bowling like this and you just go, that is why you win the toss and bowl. We were saying earlier, sometimes at Lords it seems that the team that make the total and put runs on the board first have the ascendancy, but this is vindication. Denzel James just hovering the ball outside the off stump, as you said, Nick, shape away, a little bit of swing late on, and that was a genuine edge off the front foot this time, not just a slash outside the off stump, but a prod forward, a fumble forward, and it brings the golden duck for Fisher. Caught Preston, bowled Denzel James. A stunning piece of work by the keeper and bowler, and Denzel James on fire, 2 in 2, and the momentum has swung in a matter of moments. The beauty of cricket, the beauty of T20 cricket, and the Army well in this now, 48 for 2.
So the new man in, Sutcliffe, who's just taken his guard. He's surveying the field. This is the hat-trick ball for Denzel James. He's in up to the stumps. He bowls, and this is short and just guided out to deep backward point for Sutcliffe to get off the mark. And the score to move 49 for 2. Slightly disappointing hat-trick ball, that one. Just a bit short and just very easy for Sutcliffe to get off the mark with. But that's the end of a very successful Denzel James over. His figures, 2 overs, 2 for 13. The RAF 49 for 2. And, well, a very even-steven start at the end of 7 overs.
You couldn't have hoped for a better fast bowler wicket. That second one, just prodding forward, was the batsman Fisher, and the finest of edges. But Fletcher, James rather, knew absolutely as soon as the ball passed the bat, he knew. He was dancing, his knees were pumping, his fists were clenched. He was gliding across the Lord's wicket in absolute ecstasy, and he's still clapping Denzel James there at short mid-wicket. Absolutely excellent moment for the fast bowler.
So we've got change of bowling at the pavilion end. Benson is coming on. He's just loosening up now, and he will be bowling to the new-ish batsman, Sutcliffe. And he comes in and right arm over, and this is just turned into the leg side easily by Fletcher. And Ringrose will deal the fielding as he comes in off the deep square leg boundary. And that is the 50 for the RAF. So the 50's come up after 43 deliveries and a run rate of 7 and over. And Diver, who's been slightly becalmed in the last while, probably because he hasn't been facing any deliveries, he will face his first ball from Benson, as this one is pushed firmly up towards deep mid-on, and they stroll through for an easy single. And Benson, he's a tall man. I would think he's 6'3", 6'4", maybe something of that, maybe more. So he's archetypally lanky in style. 3-4 paces up to the wicket he bowls, and this is a good delivery that is treated with respect by Sutcliffe, and just pushed out in the offside. Dot ball. As he's in again, and this one is, well, it's going to get 4, I think, unless there's a good bit of fielding. He has beaten the fielder. Sutcliffe pulled it hard into the leg side. There's a sparing dive by Ringrose. He couldn't quite get there, so 4 more to the total. Benson just drifting down to the leg side there. Not by a lot, but of course as a slow bowler there's very little margin for error. Sutcliffe moves on to 6 and the score 55 for 2. His next delivery from well, they think about a run. It was an outside edge from Sutcliffe. There probably was a run actually, but all credit to the fielder. I'm not quite sure who it is there, but he got round quickly, and in the end Diver decided that they wouldn't go for it. There's just something going on. The umpire is just signalling something. I'm not quite sure what here. But we're going to have a short delay.
He's now on the phone to someone.
Yeah, I don't know whether they... I'm not quite sure what that was all about. Maybe we'll find out. But anyway, as Benson comes in, and that's pushed firmly up towards deep mid-off, who comes round. It's Boris who does the fielding. And yeah, that's the end of the over. So I think what the umpire might have been checking, because on the scoreboard they were one delivery behind. So I suspect he was just checking that that was the last delivery of the over. So and that's at the end of the 8th over, and the score is 56 for 2.
There's rain in the air, Nick. That might have been what they were talking about.
Rain in the air.
You can see it coming through our windows here in the TMS box from the media centre, and you can hear the rumble of the engine as the JP Morgan massive cover gets set to make an entrance. We hope.
Well, they're playing on for the moment, so let's keep our fingers crossed. The hover cover has been turned off. As Denzel James comes in, it's a full toss, and it's going to be pushed firmly up towards deep mid-off, and they'll stroll through for a single. So Sutcliffe moves on to 8, brings Diver back on to strike. He's 21 of 20 deliveries. Hasn't seen much of the strike in the last little while. James comes in, that's a nice looking delivery, but pushed firmly again up to mid-off. One more to the total, 58 for 2. I would say that it is raining. I would say it's possibly raining quite heavily, but play continues as James comes in, and that is, well, he's just mistimed that, Sutcliffe. And the fielder, James, does fielding off his own bowling. The umpire has come over, and they're still having a chat. Let's keep fingers crossed that he's the senior umpire. I'm afraid
bails are off.
They are calling it a timeout, which is a real shame. What are we, 8.3 overs, so we've had 51 deliveries, the score 58 for 2. We were loving the cricket we were seeing. This rain looks heavy. There will be a bit of an interlude here, I'm afraid. Let's just hope this doesn't settle for too long. I think the best thing for us to do while we're here, if you're watching the live stream from BFBS, you'll see the hover cover coming on. Sad, disappointing sight for us all. I think the best thing for us to do, though, is we'll come off air for the next little while as the players go off, traipse up the steps into the pavilion, and we will rejoin as soon as we know that there is some cricket.